The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
Trevor, my name's Kyle Bound, and I'm a Canucks fan, okay? A Canucks fan first and a Canadian second. That being said, who won the game last night? Do you know who won the game last night? I don't know who won the game last night. Who did it?
Oh.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You know, congrats to all Rekman Larson, Jonah Gadjevich, and Roberto Luongo, and Gustav Forsling, all former Canucks that lifted the Stanley Cup last night. Welcome to Locked On Canucks, home of the Canuck bias, the West Coast bias, hosted by a couple of Canuck fans. And like Kyle said, Canuck fans first, Canadians second, okay? I'm Trevor Beggs, co-host of Locked On Canucks, also a Canucks writer over at Daily Hive Vancouver. And before we dive into this episode, we got to let you know that if you like what we're doing, make sure you go subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. I also got to let you know before we get into things that today's show is brought to you by Kyle's Smile, okay? You can only see it on YouTube, but it is white and pearly, man. Yo, did you celebrate last night by brushing your teeth for like 5 minutes straight, man? Unbelievable. This show is also brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As playoffs wind down, the sport stops sporting like we want them to. But hey, this is summer, and FanDuel's hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. Go visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. A big moment last night. I think Canuck fans, you know, the diehard Canuck fans, so I want to say 80 to 90% of you listening to Locked On Canucks, you were cheering for Florida, right? If you're cheering for Edmonton, you ain't really a real diehard Canucks fan because no one wanted to see that happen. But at the end of the day, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Jonah Gadjevich, Gustav Forsling, and Roberto Luongo lift the Stanley Cup. And West Vancouver's Sam Reinhart scores the cup-winning goal. Let's talk a bit about the Canuck angles, the Vancouver angles in that game. But more importantly, it's the offseason, baby, okay? It's the offseason, and we want to look at the perfect wingers for Elliotte Pettersson. Is that Jake Guentzel? Are the Canucks out on Jake Guentzel? What are the other best options for Petey? Because he needs a friend. He needs a friend on that top line. We're going to get into that and more. Before we get into all of that, let me introduce my co-host with the pearly whites. He's smiling today way more than he was smiling yesterday. Kyle Bound. How's it going, brother?
Hey, man, this is why you don't litter. This is why you don't litter. You know, back in the day, Trevor, I was at Centennial Arena. You know that place, right? That's the home of Trevor Beggs every week, for real, in his ball hockey career. Back in the day, I was out there with the boys playing a game. And during the post game, we had a lot of beers. Okay, a lot of beers, and a lot of my homies, they left their beers on the ground. Okay, the beer cans on the ground. They didn't even throw it in the garbage, right? And I don't want to be that guy to pick it up in front of them and you know, deliver a message about not being douchebags and making sure you never litter in this great country called Canada or in the world in general. So I waited for everyone to leave. I looked like I was going back to my car, got into my car, waited for everyone to leave, got out of my car, and picked up every single can that my friends left on the ground and threw it in the garbage or the recycling bin, one or the other. Why did I do that? Because of a day like yesterday, okay? Because of a day like yesterday. If I did not do that at Centennial Arena, the Oilers are winning Game 7 against the Florida Panthers. But man, oh man, karma, and trust me, I'm a Hindu. Karma is real. Karma's real, okay? I didn't litter, and we got saved. Vancouver, like I said earlier, I'm a Canucks fan first. I'm a Canadian second. I want to be the most hated person in Edmonton, okay? I also don't want to be the Prime Minister of Canada, so it doesn't matter, okay? Because again, I'm just taking care of the West Coast bias, my neighbors, my people. Yesterday mattered, and it mattered to us. All that being said, can we talk more about that game and those two teams and the Stanley Cup in like 15 minutes, 20 minutes? Let's talk about the Canucks, man. Let's talk about the Canucks. Elliotte Friedman telling you and you and you and you that he doesn't know if the Canucks can pull it off with Jake Guentzel. What does that mean, Trevor? What does that mean? It means he doesn't know if they can pull it off. It's the same lingo. Tomato, right? Potato. Straight up. It doesn't change a thing. That being said, it's making me think about the other guys, the best of the rest. And Trevor Beggs is going to rank the potential new wingers for Elliotte Pettersson because that's objective number one for your Vancouver Canucks in the offseason.
Yeah, I think, Elliotte Friedman, bless his soul, man. Often what he says gets reported on because, hey, give us something to talk about, man. Let's go. But does he often know what he's talking about? Sometimes I wonder. I
Yeah.
wonder, Kyle. And I think that guy might not know anything. Maybe he was celebrating with the Florida Panthers last night down at the elbow room. Okay. A rumor has it that Elliotte Friedman was drinking from the Stanley Cup. Yeah, he's not really an Oilers fan. So spread that around. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. But the Canucks offseason, look, when it comes to wingers for Elliotte Pettersson, the list starts with Jake Guentzel. I'm not going to say the list starts and ends with Jake Guentzel because that ain't true. There's other options out there, but the list starts with Jake Guentzel. And for the most part here, I'm going to look at free agent wingers first. And then maybe later on, we can talk a little bit about trade targets because
Okay.
I think free agency is a fine line, right? It's the time of year where bad deals are made and we're in an environment to go up. Maybe we're more likely to see some bad deals. Actually, I think we're more likely to see some bad deals out there on the market because of the increase in cap space. But that being said, there's some intriguing names out there. So they can find that line between not overpaying for a winger and finding some upgrades to the top six because they're not going to go lift Lord Stanley's trophy if they don't improve this winger group. But in terms of Elliotte Friedman saying, I think the big reason why he say he doesn't know about Jake Guentzel isn't just because he's drunk off of winning the Stanley Cup with the Florida Panthers there, but I think it's because there's going to be a bidding war for Jake Guentzel.
That's all it is.
There's probably 10 or 12 teams at least that are going to be in on Jake Guentzel's services, and I even look to like the Western Conference as well, like some of the teams who could potentially be in the running for Guentzel. Let's look
Or
at
how about even the Eastern Conference? Sorry to cut you off. You're lagging for me a bit, but like, how about Toronto? Like again, Trevor's 100% right. Why Elliotte Friedman is choosing to say this now and saying that he doesn't know if the Canucks can actually pull this off and go from favorites to being the perfect suitor? It's because the season just ended, right? And we've seen a lot of movement over the last 2 or 3 days. He believes more teams are going to do those types of things, and maybe they're going to do that because they want to clear up space for a champion in Jake Guentzel. One of those teams has to be Toronto, right? Toronto rumored to be shipping Mitch Marner to Utah, probably for picks, like cheap players that, could get better, players with potential, prospects and whatnot, right? One of those packages. And if they save up, some money, a lot of money by shipping Marner out, I wouldn't be surprised if that's a destination for him too, because Tavares has 1 more year left on his deal and Jake Guentzel's a champion. Like it's replacing a winger with a guy who can get it done in the playoffs, right? From Marner for Guentzel. So I put those two things together. I think Elliotte Friedman's kind of maybe hearing the same thing, right? When he talks about teams making moves to make a pitch for Guentzel. Again, it adds more intrigue, more teams in the pot, and it makes it harder for the Canucks to, be the perfect suitor.
Yeah, I find that so fascinating because, on the one hand, right, Jake Guentzel's a champion. Get Marner out of here. He hasn't been great in the playoffs, but you also have gotten Marner with 1 year left on his deal, who's 4 years younger than Guentzel.
Dude,
and you're
it's
going
not.
to
Come on, bro. It's
come
like
on.
no, but like, who cares about? They got to get the job done now. Like the whole younger thing. Like, dude, it's the same thing goes with us, man. Like it's just the way it is. And Guentzel still is a gamer this time around. Like he's still that guy. He's that dog. He's of such value. And isn't it like not always the case where a guy like that is just open? You can get him on your team for free for a couple of years. He's still going to be that guy if you pair him up with the number one center like Elliotte Pettersson. So yeah, it's no surprise that again, maybe 5 or 6 more teams over the next 5 or 6 more days will be added to the Jake Guentzel sweepstakes.
Yeah, and so and enough Toronto talk too. Again, look, Jake Guentzel's target number 1, but let's look at. I think there's 4 big names out there, and then from there, there's kind of a secondary market and some more intriguing names that might cost a little less. But I think Jake Guentzel makes sense as the primary target first and foremost. And I talked about this on an episode a couple weeks back. The everyday, it's the occasional listeners, they might have heard. But we talked about Sam Reinhart versus Jake Guentzel. Now, I think Sam Reinhart, especially after scoring the Stanley Cup winning goal, probably going to command some big boy bucks, right? He had 57 goals during the regular season. But if there's a world in which he's willing to maybe take a little hometown discount, go play for his hometown Canucks in Vancouver, and he costs somewhere in the neighborhood of Jake Guentzel, I'd be intrigued by Sam Reinhart, right? He's got some flexibility as a setter, can play the wing. is a good two-way player, probably a better two-way player with less speed than Guentzel. If Sam Reinhart is interested in coming home, again, I think he can fetch 10.5, maybe even 11 on the open market, which to me would be a little wild for Sam Reinhart. He didn't have a great finals until scoring in Game 7. But if he's kind of in that neighborhood of like under 10, I'd be intrigued about him as a fit for Vancouver Canucks. Look, I think the Vancouver Canucks this offseason, elite winger talent has to be the priority. You got Miller and Pettersson down the middle. For the foreseeable future, you need an elite winger as well, especially with Brock Besser on 1 year left on his deal and the lack of a commitment from the organization to him long term. So Guentzel first, Reinhardt second. I'm putting Steven Stamkos third on the list. I'm not going to say this is likely, but Steven Stamkos and Jonathan Mustard Salt to me are the other two elite wingers out there on the market. Now, Stamkos' contract projection from AFP is actually like sub $7 million, which I find kind of fascinating considering Steven Stamkos put together a Hall of Fame career so far. And he's got some flexibility playing wing as well. The Canucks, again, need another player for that power play. They didn't really find a fit last year. I can't think of a better option than Steven Stamkos. I think power play wise, Steven Stamkos might be the best fit for this power play because you have some pretty sublime playmakers in Miller, Pettersson, and Hughes. If you have another elite shot like Steven Stamkos up there, I think that could really add some juice to the Canucks power play. So I'm going to have Stamkos third and Jonathan Mustard Salt, who I think would be the last elite option out there. I have trouble just seeing him come to Vancouver. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just from Vegas kicking the Canucks' ass for the last few years. Mertz's a bit older.
Look at you just hating on older guys, bro. You're almost 31, bro. The more and more you talk about
Stamkos is older than Marchessault.
I'm a Hindu. I know everything about karma. You better watch your effing mouth, bro. You're about to turn 31 years old. Erectile dysfunction, arthritis, wrinkles, balding, bro. Trevor, you want to go bald? You looking good right now. Look at your hairline. Perfect. You want to go bald? You better watch your mouth, man, talking about these older players like this, man. You just listed off all champions. Did you just know that too? All champions. Wingers win championships. Where did the word wingers come from? It came from win. Look, I think you are right. And I'm assuming number 5 is another champion, right? Straight up. I'm assuming it's that guy who used to play for the Vancouver Canucks. I know you have a big list of guys, secondary guys, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I just feel as if the Canucks, if they do flop on Guentzel, I wonder if they get 2 of these guys somehow. If like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wonder if it's Toffoli and somebody else. It's going to be so fascinating. Now, in the whole Stamkos thing, before we get to break, and the whole power play thing, you do that, then you're taking JT Miller off of the top left of the power play, right? He no longer is Quinn Hughes' running mate because now you got Stamkos, and now you got to put him in his shooting position on the power play, right-handed on the left side. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I can't see that happening, but that would be something I would be open to. And maybe, just maybe, down the road this week, we got to start talking about Steven Stamkos coming to the Vancouver Canucks, man. We got to do a whole episode on that.
Yeah, let's bring on Jim Benning as the guest for that one. More on that later this week on Locked On Canucks. Let's get to some of the other winger options on the other side, maybe that secondary market or some intriguing names that might cost a little less in free agency. Before we do that, we got to get paid and shout out our friends over at FanDuel. All right. You know what? I love sports. I love them so much and I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs have widened down in the NBA and NHL, we get fewer games going on and the sports, they just aren't sporting like I want them to. But FanDuel, they let me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. I'm not going to lie. I actually got some betting advice from my friend in the MLB who loves MLB the other day. I'm not a big MLB guy, but he says you can find good lines and good bets based on who's pitching. So just going to throw that out there. If you'd like to sprinkle a few bucks on bets. Again, with FanDuel, they're hooking up customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. Something for everyone every day, all summer long. And those Stanley Cup odds, hey, the Canucks have moved up the list, okay? They now have the 11th best odds of winning the Stanley Cup next season, according to FanDuel. I don't know how they moved up from 13th or 14th from a couple of days ago, but here we are, the 11th best odds going to your Vancouver Canucks. So whatever you're betting on, make sure you do so at FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most of your summer. Remember, if you or you know someone who has a gambling problem, make sure you reach out. There are hotlines to do so. And again, with FanDuel, if you're using FanDuel, they are the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball.
People, we back doing this, and that's talking about your Vancouver Canucks. My name is Kyle Bowen. That right there is Trevor Beggs. And I love sports. Okay? Yesterday, Game 7, Oilers-Panthers. That's the most invested I've been in a game when it comes to, again, intention, feelings, emotion, the feeling in my stomach, the butterflies, the agony, the triumph, right? That's the most invested I've been in a game in my life outside of games that involve Team Canada, right? The hockey Team Canada, the Olympics, the Vancouver Canucks, and the Green Bay Packers. So that's an experience I'll never forget. And that's an experience that we'll talk about in like 5 or 6 more minutes, okay? Because I want to talk about winning, aka wingers. And I want to continue to go down this list that Trevor has in front of us, okay? You mentioned a bunch of champions from 1 to 4, right? Guentzel, Stamkos, Mustard Salt. Who was number 2 on that list? Who was number 2 on that list again? It was I'm forgetting one name. Reinhardt.
Guentzel, Reinhardt, Stamkos,
yeah.
Mustard Salt.
And I think number 5 is another champion in Tyler Toffoli. Am I right?
Yeah, I do have Tyler Toffoli at number 5 on the list here. I'd be kind of a hypocrite not to, because I talked up this signing yesterday based on Elliotte Friedman's report that he thinks the Canucks will consider Tyler Toffoli as a plan B if they lose out on Guentzel. Look, Tyler Toffoli, he's only 32 years old, and I've seen it in our comments too, and there's legitimate complaints about his foot speed, and I think there is something to be said about that. But I think Tyler Toffoli, what he brings is consistency. This guy finds a way to get 30 goals and close to 60 points every season. He's proven time and time again that he can succeed when playing next to top players. And again, I think he's got probably another 3 or 4 years left in the tank of playing at a fairly high level, or at least a top 6 level.
Why do you think that is? Like, what do you see in his game to game activity that allows his foot speed not to be a problem? Now, I think the easy thing to say, and this is something that I always fall back to, is his intelligence, right? He just knows how to find the pockets. But we got to remember, as a society, man, okay, for real, as a people, just because you're not fast or one of the faster players in the league doesn't mean you lose the ability to try your hardest. And Toffoli just loves the game. And I feel as if he doesn't take shifts off.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. And I think he makes up for the lack of speed with hockey smarts, much like Brock Besser does. Like, I actually see a lot of similarities between Brock Besser and Tyler Toffoli. And even looking at Tyler Toffoli's edge data, aside from his skating speed being pretty far down there, right? We're kind of talking like 80% of the league being faster than him. His speed bursts are around 75% of the league being faster than him. Everything else is above average. His top shot speed, the amount he skates, the amount of time he spent in the offensive zone, and the amount at which he shoots the puck, scores, and his shooting percentage are some of the best in the NHL. I mean, the guy is, again, much like Brock Besser, can score from in tight, can score from outside the dirty areas as well. I think he's really cerebral, smart hockey player. And, his lack of foot speed, like, you don't see him out there just getting burned time and time again. I think this is a guy who, again, is a smart hockey player, and he figures out how to navigate a faster NHL. Doesn't have to be smart.
You know who reminds me of Toffoli and Besser too? More so Besser. And I know the guy that I'm about to mention is on another tier because of what he did last night, but it's Sam Reinhart. There's again, Besser's ability to be a two-way player and just be good everywhere on the ice now gives me the belief that he can be the next Sam Reinhart. Like, he can put up 45 goals, 50 goals. Like, we're talking about a guy who's going into a UFA season. I wonder if the Canucks identified that. And yeah, you can't have enough Sam Reinharts on your team, but I wonder if they don't go after Sam Reinhart because they have Brock Besser and their priority is, getting another top 6 winger, but making sure speed is a thing, to add another element to their attack.
Yeah, no, I think you make a great point there. And, at the end of the day, I think Sam Reinhart he's going to cost a ton of money, right? I think that's going to be the most prohibitive factor in signing Sam Reinhart, if he even leaves the Florida Panthers at all.
Mhm.
Okay, let's look at some of the other options out there on the market. Okay, in terms of this list that I got. Okay, and I'm gonna bring up 3 names here. I'm gonna bring up Victor
Mhm.
Arvidsson,
Mhm.
Daniel Sprong,
Ooh.
and
Ugh. Okay.
Anthony Mantha. Uh,
Oh.
Kyle, thoughts on any of those 3 players?
I think if the Canucks don't bring back Joshua and don't get Guentzel, there's a world where they get to Foley and Arvidsson, you know? That's how they make it up. They get 2 of those guys. Now, I wonder if there's a world where Victor Arvidsson can go back in time, you know, and be super uber promising. Because I'm sure he's still a good player, a very competent player, a lot of skill there, can score some goals too. But there was a moment where again, this guy was like 30 goal guy, making things look pretty, just doing all those all those things, kind of being a little similar, but I would say a bit more skilled than a guy like Zach Hyman. But I wonder if he's a guy that complements a guy like Pettersson as well. Now, in saying that and putting that together out loud, how far is Niels Höglander from becoming Victor Arvidsson?
That's the thing, right? I do wonder how much the Canucks would want to commit to Victor Arvidsson. And look, Victor Arvidsson is still a really good player. He just missed
Yeah.
most of last season due to injury. He had 6 goals, 15 points in 18 games. The season before that in LA, I think he had 59 points. So this guy's still a good hockey player. And you might get him at a reduced cost because he didn't play much last season. But I think most of the NHL still views him as a top 6 winger. I'd be pretty surprised if he got, let's say less than 4.5 million
Mhm.
on the open market. So still a solid player there. And again, he's similar size to Höglander, about 5'9", 190. So I do wonder, what's their appetite to have, Garland, Höglander, and Arvidsson on the same team, much like we were saying, like Beauvillier,
Mhm.
Arvidsson, or Beauvillier,
Yeah.
Garland, Höglander last season. Look, Daniel Sprong to me is another interesting name. This guy obviously has defensive flaws to his game, but all he's done over the past 2 seasons is scored a first line rate while playing 4th line minutes. It's kind of unreal that he did this both with the Kraken and the Detroit Red Wings. And this is a guy where, the Canucks are looking for another top 9 winger as well. Maybe you bump Garland up the lineup and have Daniel Sprong more in a 3rd line
Ooh.
role. Again, this is a guy who's proven over the last couple of seasons. He's a 20 goal, 45 point guy, and he barely plays. So Daniel Sprong to me is a fascinating player. And not to remind you, he's got ties to Rutherford and Alvin as well.
Mhm.
Drafted by Rutherford and Alvin. He was traded by them, but in a trade that netted them Marcus Pettersson. So I don't think it was that they didn't like Daniel Sprong. I think it's that it got them a top 4 defenseman. So I wouldn't be shocked if the Canucks decided to visit something with Daniel Sprong either. I mentioned Anthony Mantha quickly. I'm intrigued by the player at a cost, but I think because of the body, he might cost too much. I prefer them to go after Dakota Joshua.
Wow.
One
This
last
guy
name
be
I'm
one
going
of
to
the most
mention.
overrated players. Like he could potentially be one of the most overpaid players. Like I feel like if there is a world where like minimum you're getting Anthony Mantha for $3.5 million, bro, the Canucks are way better off just making sure they bring back Dakota Joshua.
I also wonder if Anthony Mantha might be like a 1-year show me deal type of player because he
Yeah,
was so bad for a couple seasons, had a pretty good year this year, but was healthy scratch in the playoffs.
yeah,
I look at
exactly.
Anthony Mantha as like 1 year, 3.5. Let's see what you can do. And that would intrigue me, much like they kind of did with Teddy Bluger and Ian Cole this season.
Yeah.
The last thing I'm going to bring up is Danton Heinen. Again, a guy who's played close to league minimum the past couple of seasons, but has scored at a top 6 rate and played with top players. And Jake DeBrusk is a guy I thought of, but when I look at Jake DeBrusk versus Danton Heinen, they have pretty much the same points per game. So why are you paying a premium for Jake DeBrusk just because you think he's a tough guy because his dad was an enforcer? To me, like let's bring
Again,
home Langley BC native Danton Heinen.
again, and if you're going after Jake DeBrusk, I just trust Rutherford and Alvin so much. And honestly, I don't mind Jake DeBrusk. Like I've seen so many Bruins games because they're always on TV, and even though he's not always padding the stats, I feel as if he's always competing hard, always trying hard, like trying to make things happen. But at the end of the day, if you're gonna use money to sign that guy, I'd much rather them just develop and continue to have a relationship with Dakota Joshua. That's how high I am on Dakota Joshua.
Straight up. Any other wingers you want to add to the list, buddy? I think we had listed off 10 or 11 there.
Oh no. Well, okay. Honestly, I want to talk about Stamkos more over the next couple of days. Who's another name that I want to talk about? Like maybe Victor Arvidsson a bit more. I just want to go deeper into these guys, specifically speaking. Okay, for real. It's the offseason. It's time to go deep into guys. if you know what I'm talking. Okay, Trevor Beggs, Kyle Bound, Locked On Canucks. Your Canucks every day. It's gonna happen, bro. It's gonna happen. Okay. After the break, we're gonna do what? We're gonna talk about our experiences watching Game 7 between the Oilers and the Panthers. Follow me on TikTok. Okay, right now I am so close to becoming the most hated man in Edmonton, and dreams do come true, and that's because I don't litter.
I might sign up on TikTok just for that, buddy. We'll be
Yeah.
back on the other side here on Locked On Canucks.
Man, we're going to have a lot of fun tonight in Vancouver, all my real fans.
People, we back doing this, and that's talking about your Vancouver Canucks. Kyle Bound, Trevor Beggs. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We just bring that passion, man. We just bring that West Coast bias, man. One love to the Don't Dose Art Lab for instilling that in us. I'm going to say it for the third time. I'm a Canucks fan first and then a Canadian. I have no problem saying that, okay, for real. I'm staying local. I'm looking after my community, my neighbors. I'm going to start there before I really start thinking about everyone else, okay? That's the way it's got to get done in this thing called life, okay? Let's chase peace, and let's maybe do it that way. All that being said, again, Canucks talk all the time. Beggsy, I remember my point from a couple of minutes ago that I want to bring up as well. We don't have to spoil everything all the time, but I'm just passionate about the wingers. Who's going to play with Pettersson? The wingers. You get wingers, you're going to win championships. So you know how they say defense wins championships? No, wingers win championships. Carter Bahagi, Sam Reinhart doing their thing last night. You brought up Connor Garland playing more. You brought up Connor Garland being a fixture, if I'm saying that right, in the top 6 somehow, some way. That's how damn good this guy was last year. And I know he's better, quote unquote, when he's that guy on the line, right? The best part on the line has the puck more. But I wonder if Besser, Garland, and Miller can work. And again, we'll talk more about that throughout the week. Like, are they going to promote from within to make their top 6 more lethal? Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, speaking of being lethal, we're going to do that right now, okay? The Oilers, the Florida Panthers, they played Game 7 last night. In my opinion, a pretty boring game, but also really intense. Like, hockey lovers would love that game, but the world was watching, and I'm pretty sure they were most likely a little bit wanting more, right? All that being said, Canucks fans, the real ones, we got exactly what we wanted, okay? The Oilers did not win. Nobody remembers who came in second place. In my mind, there's one winner and 31 losers. That's just the truth, okay? So we got our wish. The Oilers lost. Boom, bam. I'm feeling great. Beggsy, how was your experience watching what was the most important NHL game of all time?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I was definitely running around with the kids, so I wasn't paying super close attention to the first 2 periods. But like you said, from what I saw, I felt like it was an intense game, but there was some nervousness, some tentativeness out there. I thought Florida played a good defensive game. Edmonton played a good defensive game. So maybe a good game for hockey nerds. I know I heard some casual fans, even at my work, just want to talk about the intensity of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I thought like there was probably better games in the series, definitely better games in this playoffs. It wasn't like, this is the greatest game in NHL history, the biggest stage, but maybe not necessarily the greatest game. And it kind of like early on, it looked like, oh my God, it's going to be an all-time class, like a 5-4 or 4-3 overtime game. But, you get 2 goals early on, and both teams kind of were tentative, tightened things up. I think the Florida did a really good job checking McDavid. But, yeah, definitely one of those games that could have gone Edmonton's way. I hate to say it, could have gone Edmonton's way. They had some chances. They late in the third, but they just couldn't get it done. And, yeah, as a Canuck fan, over the moon. I'm not going to lie, though. It was kind of weird seeing Florida let the cup. Just those fans are just like, oh, yeah, go hockey. Yeah, there we go. Home run. Let's go. Like half the people in the stands even know what hockey is, man. Like, I wondered about that stuff.
Let's talk about it. Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room, aka the panther in the room. And Trevor, man, we've been doing shows forever. We've gotten drunk together in the past. We've had so many conversations about the game of hockey. Okay, for real. We've been eating vegetables together, sitting on a beach, and just talking about hockey. And like, I can't believe that yesterday happened, and I'm not crying over the fact that Florida, I didn't even know Florida wasn't a city. I know it's a state, but I also thought it was a city too, okay? Florida, that place and that fan base, which is growing, but that fan base got a Stanley Cup before us. We've had a 25+ year head start or 24-year head start, and they got one before us. It wasn't that long ago where 1,400 fans are filling up a 20,000 seat arena, okay? It's embarrassing. They're like Arizona Coyotes-esque. You know what I'm saying? And they did it before us. So that in itself makes us miserable, right? Like we're somewhat losers. Like it knocks us down the totem pole of some of the most embarrassing franchises, if not in NHL history, based on the fact that again, no cups in 50 plus years. But I needed them. I needed them to beat the Oilers so bad. And this whole thing about Canada's team and this whole thing about respecting the Oilers and all that jazz. I'm only 31 and a half years old. Okay. I'm not the man I'm supposed to be yet, but I'm living in the moment. Okay. Last time I checked, that team eliminated us 30 days ago. 30 days ago. They went to war with the guys who represent us in blue and green, the guys that give us that feeling, that escapism, give us the best feeling in the world, right? When the Canucks are winning games late in the year, there's no better feeling than that. You know what I'm saying? Those guys are sacrificing their body, their time, their energy to give that to us. And they lose to a team that, battled with them, went to war with them. And I'm supposed to be Canadian, or I'm supposed to cheer for the Oilers, or not be rivals with the Oilers. Like, this is sports, man. This is sports. And I'm sorry if, I embarrassed some Canucks fans out there by, posting the videos I had to post, because some people are, I guess, more classy than me. Again, I'm 31 and a half years old. Okay. I still got some growing up to do. Okay. But man, oh man, I'm not going to change because this is the West Coast bias. I'm a Vancouver Canucks fan before respect. And how does somebody have the audacity to tell me that as a Canucks fan, I just want to let you know that you're an embarrassment to us all, bro. We burned down the city 14 years ago. It doesn't get worse than that, okay? It's all good. It's all good. What I did yesterday is a fan thing to do.
Look, man, people, I think sometimes people take sports too seriously, and Locked On Canucks, your Canucks every day. We love sports, talk sports every day, but it's sports at the end of the day, right? Like I was talking to some family members who were cheering for Edmonton. I was like, yeah, you guys want to watch the game on Monday? And they're like, I don't want to watch with you because you're not cheering for Edmonton. I was like, you guys are so petty, man. That's some funny stuff right there. I'm like, me personally, like I love the hate. I'll watch a Canuck game when someone cheered against the Canucks. I don't care about that energy in the room.
Yeah, that's
bring on the heat, man,
bro. Bring the heat. It's a fun time, dude. This is crazy to me. Okay, there are some Canucks fans out there, quote unquote, who got off work early yesterday so they could host a pizza party at their crib. Put that money in your kid's college fund. You know what I'm saying? You're out there spending it on the Oilers. It's a damn shame. There's not enough loyalty in this world anymore. Hey, speaking of loyalty, look at this comment, okay? This is making me laugh. We'll get out of here soon. Go Canucks, go. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Steven, one of my favorite commenters, is saying this, okay? Everyone is going to get a cup before the Vancouver Canucks. Then Andrew with the boom saying that the Kraken, the Seattle Kraken will win the Stanley Cup before us, man. If that happens, I'm moving to Fiji, bro. I'm moving to Fiji. Latoka, Fiji. That's what I'm doing, man. I could not handle that. Unreal, man. Unreal, man. Go Canucks, go.
I'm coming with you, buddy. So there are 10 teams left that never won a Stanley Cup. They are the Utah Hockey Club, Buffalo Sabres, Columbus Blue Jackets, Minnesota Wild, Nashville Predators, Ottawa Senators, San Jose Sharks, Seattle Kraken, Vancouver Canucks, and the Winnipeg Jets. In terms of the most painful, I think Utah or the Kraken would definitely be the most painful.
Dude, how about yesterday when Hockey Night in Canada and TSN, they're interviewing players after the game, right? Paul Maurice, Matthew Tkachuk, and Roberto Luongo, right? And those three players are smart players. They know they're talking to Canadian media, and they know who's watching and the gems to drop, right? And how did all those three guys, some of the biggest faces in Florida Panthers hockey history, all mention a Canadian team and a Canadian fan base and thank them for their support and love? You know what I'm saying? In a moment where the Oilers were supposed to be Canada's team. Do not be fooled by the ops, people. Don't be sheep. Think for yourself and just be loyal and you'll find all your answers, okay? The truth sets you free. Don't fall for that propaganda, man. What a joke.
Amen, buddy. And that's how we got to wrap up Locked On Canucks, man. Your Canucks
Hit
every day.
Button.
Go Canucks, go.
Like
Congrats to the Panthers. F the Oilers. Too bad. So sad. Boo-hoo. Better luck next year, but the Canucks are winning in 7 next year.
You got 2 minutes? 2 minutes to talk about one more thing? Like, this is a big topic, okay? Because I don't want to talk about the Oilers anymore, okay? After this. Connor McDavid doesn't come out for the Conn Smythe. How does that make you feel? Because for me, again, I hate the Oilers. I hate the Oilers, all that jazz. But at the end of the day, it's a 7-game series. This guy worked his ass off. He's like, he just left the ice. Then 2 minutes later, they're like, oh, yeah, Connor McDavid has just won the Conn Smythe trophy. Dude, too much of a competitor. I'm not surprised that he didn't go out to take the photo because he probably didn't give a ish. That being said, I still kind of understand some of the, not the anger, but the confusion, because you could argue that that's the most important individual trophy in the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, you're the man when you win that trophy.
Yeah, it's funny because an Oilers fan asked me this, and I was thinking about it. Like, if I was McDavid, would I have gone out? Probably not, to be honest. That's so emotional, man. Like whatever team lost that game was going to have their hearts absolutely ripped out. And yeah, if I was McDavid, I probably wouldn't have gone out. So I didn't really have a problem with it.
Okay,
it's kind of a weird thing to do, to go in front of all the fans in Florida, just go take a picture with the trophy that you didn't want because you want.
But at the same
it's
time,
like touching the Clarence Campbell. You know, you're right. It's an amazing individual trophy, but hockey's a team sport.
I know that.
McDavid gets rat's ass about that.
Again, I don't really care. But I'm just saying, I just bringing up some other things, devil's advocate stuff, right? His parents are probably in the building. There are a lot of fans from Edmonton.
Did you not see the clip on TV? This is probably one of the funniest things of the whole night. So his dad has his phone out filming the Conn Smythe presentation, and the Sportsnet camera is like stuck on him. Goes back to Florida celebrating. A minute later, goes back to McDavid's dad. And hopefully people didn't see this. This is hilarious, but goes back to McDavid's dad, and someone taps him and says he's not coming out. And McDavid's dad's like, oh, he's not coming out. Puts his phone away, goes to his family, like, let's go.
Yeah. That's
so awkward, man.
Okay,
That was
fair enough.
awkward moment of the night.
If they don't care, then it's all good. You know what I'm saying? Because, yeah, as Kachuk said, right, you don't really get to those places in your life without that support from home and all that jazz and all that energy. It really is an army outside and inside of the rink that gets you a Stanley Cup win. All that being said, we're still chasing for ours. A lot of work to be done over the next couple of weeks. It's going to be really fascinating. Dude, the new season starts now. Like, we're walking into the new season of hockey after the Canucks gave us all that juice, and we don't have to deal with the Oilers winning the Stanley Cup. Like, dude, I feel new. I feel brand new. This is the... Thank you. Thank you, and don't litter. Hit the like button, subscribe to the show. Love every single one of you, especially the OGs. Begsy, sign us out.
All right. Shout out to the everydayers, occasional listeners, first-time listeners, new subscribers, and those of you who join us on the live show on YouTube. Wherever you're listening, whenever you're listening, we love each and every one of you. Again, big times here for the Canucks coming up, okay? Big decisions to be made. Draft coming up. Free agency right around the corner. We'll have you covered on. We're going to look at defensemen probably on tomorrow's episode, but we'll do more free agency previews, a bit of draft talk as well, leading up to, again, some big decisions for your Vancouver Canucks. We'll have you covered here on Locked On Canucks, your Canucks every day. For now, we're signing off. I'm Trevor Beggs. That guy is Kyle Bowen, and you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.
Peace, 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 peace.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.